What is up, my fellow Chibits? Today, I'm here to bring all of you the weekly episode review of RWBY Season 4. Now, FYI, I am very sorry for this episode review being a little bit delayed. I mean, if you're all unaware, it's New Year's, and also it was New Year's Eve yesterday, and so I was a little bit busy with the family and stuff, just having fun with them and all that, and so I didn't really have the time to sit down and make a video on this yesterday, so I'm just gonna say, please forgive me. But with that being said, though, I hope all of you are having a very, very good start of 2017, because, I mean, it's New Year. It's new times to be happy and sad, too. I mean, anything can happen. So, I mean, overall, just hopefully all of you are having a very good start of 2017. So, with that being said, let's dive right into RWBY Season 4. So, this episode of RWBY is a lot of exposition. And that's the first thing that pops up into my mind, because there's a lot of details we found out about how the world was created. So I guess you could say world building. And we found out about two gods, and they were brothers. Apparently the god of light and the god of darkness, which is very simple if you think about gods and stuff in terms of stories and stuff. It's very simplistic. So you have the god of light and the god of darkness. They were brothers, and the god of light, if you think about the god of light, it's natural to think of creation and all that, and the god of darkness would be the god of destruction. And so the god of light created a bunch of things: creatures, life, everything, all happiness and bright stuff. And then one day, the god of darkness, which was the brother of the god of light, did not really like the creation of the god of light. It was like, ugh, like, this is disgusting. And so when his brother was gone and asleep, he destroyed everything and burnt everything to the ground. And then the next morning, life would start anew. Life would continue to go on, kind of like a continuous cycle. And then one day, the two brothers got together like, hey, let's make our final creation something we can both agree on. And their final creation was man. Humanity. And when you see that, you're like, okay, so it explains, like, you know, the mentality of humanity. For instance, you know, how humans can be evil and good. That's what the two brothers agreed on. Humanity has choice. They have the knowledge and choice to choose which side they want to be on. Do they want to be on the side of darkness or the side of light? And that's what the two brothers agreed on to make. Humanity has a choice to do whatever they want, or whatever options were available to them in their lifetime, because of what knowledge and, you know, I guess choice was given to them. So, I do like the world building. It's very simplistic, but I do like the world building of RWBY, of what we got, and also how finally our main characters were filled in on what's really going on with the maidens, to Ozpin and stuff like that, to the headmasters. We finally got where all the other characters were filled in what's really happening in this world, and what Salem really wants to accomplish, which that's kind of still a mystery at this time, but Salem is the main in-game bad guy, as we can see, which we've all speculated, but I mean, we really see it now because of how Qrow was talking about Salem throughout this episode. Now, speaking of Qrow, he's dying, and I'm gonna be honest here, as I said in my last review of RWBY, I really hope Qrow does not die to poison, because it would be such a terrible way for a character such as badass as Qrow to die like that. I mean, this man is so badass. I mean, look what he did in last week's episode. It would suck to see a character like him just dying to poison. I mean, he does say he's unlucky. He's like a bad luck charm in this episode. He reveals that, but I still don't want to see him dying like that. I would like him to die in a more tragic way. If he's going to die in an unlucky way, I'd like it to be more tragic, not like this. I mean, just poison. I'm not the biggest fan of that type of death. I'm really not, especially with a character like Qrow, with how he's been written throughout RWBY. I'm just not. But regardless of that, it's still not said if he's going to die or not. But I mean, he is bleeding quite a bit purple blood, actually, at the end of the episode. So he might die. There is a very likely possibility that Qrow could die to poison, which I just hope not. But with that being said, though, let's talk about Qrow and his character for a moment. So Qrow, as he's revealing all this stuff about the maidens, to the headmasters, Ozpin, you know, the god of dark and light, you see a little bit of an insight to Qrow's character and what is really going on here. It shows that he has things he has on his mind, like he blames himself for a lot of things that just happen in his life. He says when he's ever around someone, he's like a bad luck charm. Unpleasant things happen. And so that's kind of why he, you know, decides to be detached from everyone, why he stays such a very far distance from so many people is because he is a bad luck charm, which explains a lot of his personality, why he's constantly gone and separated from people, why he seems to be a little bit antisocial, is because of what type of semblance he has, but also how he feels about himself. He realizes he's unlucky. He realizes he brings misfortune to others, and so he doesn't want to be around people to hurt them. And it shows that he does care deeply about so many people. He blames himself for what he was born with. He kind of hates some of the things about his own self, and I feel really bad for Qrow. I really like the insight to his character in this episode, and I do appreciate what Rooster Teeth tried to do. I mean, showing us that the reason why Qrow acts the way he does, why Qrow keeps such a long distance from others, and why, you know, he goes off on these long journeys, it makes so much more sense now after the details we got in this episode. And so, like I said, I feel very bad for Qrow, and I really hope before everything's said and done, if he does not die to poison, there's something that can make him feel happy about himself and feel like he's not just a bad luck charm that brings misfortune onto others and himself. Hopefully he'll find out that, you know, he is actually someone that everybody can depend on and feel like he is a good luck charm. Now, besides that, let's talk about the stuff going on with Blake and Sun. So Blake has a conversation with her father, and oh my, that was awkward. Not in a bad way, but it was awkward as fuck, because just having a father talk to his daughter and just seeing, like, Blake, you know, sitting down like that and just talking with her father, it's just something we haven't really seen much with her character, especially with how she's been throughout the series. And seeing her act like that towards her father, how she's feeling bad and all that, what she's done, she thinks her father should hate her for running off and all that, and now he's like, you know, I always care about you, I always loved you, I always had faith that you'd be fine and all that. It's just like, that scene was very awkward, just because seeing Blake in that type of situation was just so unsettling and weird for me, because I'm just not used to her in that type of position compared to what we've seen from her normally throughout the first 3 seasons of RWBY, which is a good thing too. I mean, seeing characters out of their normal environment is actually a plus for me. I mean, I love seeing characters that are usually always, let's say, the battle type characters are always going in fighting, to come down to earth and be like slice of life, like they act like they're a part of a slice of life series or something. It just shows us a different side of them that we normally have never seen, and that's kind of what we're getting from Blake in this episode, seeing how she's communicating with her father and how her father's communicating with her, and it's just a really good interaction. It's a really good scene, and I feel like many might write that off as like a bad scene of this episode or something that might have been just terrible, they should have skipped over or whatever, but I feel like they did a good job of that. I felt like Rooster Teeth did a good job with showing a different side to Blake that we normally have not seen. Now, talking about the Sun stuff, Sun, he's eavesdropping, and he actually overhears the conversation with, you know, Blake and her father, and it's very rude. I'm just gonna say, Sun, you're a very rude motherfucker. I'm just gonna be honest here. You're very rude. So yeah, I mean, overall, the episode of RWBY, it was a very simplistic episode. It wasn't, I guess, bad, and it wasn't the best I've ever seen, but it was a good episode for exposition and also a little bit of characterization for some of our characters, and I mean, yeah. How do you all feel about what we got in this episode? I mean, how do you feel about, you know, RWBY and all them finding out now the truth about how the world works and about the maidens and stuff, why the information's never been revealed? How do you feel about Salem? How do you feel about Qrow and what he said about himself and also how he brings misfortune onto others? How do you feel about the poison situation with Qrow? And how do you feel about what's going on with Blake and her family? Please let me know your honest thoughts in the comments down below. I love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.